All right, this is week 9, day 1, minute 32. Ted gets paid every 2 weeks. Is it possible for Ted to get 3 paychecks in 1 month? Um, I would say yes, because it depends on how he gets paid. This is a tricky question. I'm just gonna say, because the answer book is really just thinking how many days there are in a week, and they're like, okay, thinking if you're, some weeks have 3 weeks. So anyway, the answer is yes. It is possible to get paid 3 times in 1 month if he gets paid every 2 weeks. So it is possible. Which circle has a chord drawn on it that is not a diameter? Okay, so this is the diameter. This is a chord. And this is a ray. Or sorry, radius. Sorry. So B is a chord. This one's tricky. Here we have subtraction. So we have all common denominators. So this is the denominator and this is the numerator. As long as, and that's like a cursive N, they use that in math. So as long as the denominators are the same, you can subtract. So here we go from left to right. So 8 take away 3, and we leave the bottom number. So you can just go ahead and put a 5 over there. So 8 take away 3 is 5. 5 take away 2 is 3. So you just leave the bottom number the same, and that's, if you were to add those, you would have you'd have extra parts. So we'll get into that later. Okay, so this is, I'm pretty sure this is a 10 by 10, but I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Okay, it says use the grid to the right. What percent of the grid is shaded? So I'm also going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Always double check, don't just assume. So it is a 10 by 10, which means there's 100 squares altogether. So it says what percent? So 10. So each of these could be, because there's 100, exactly like on 100%, we're just going to count how many there are altogether, and that would be converted to percentages. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, which makes sense because all but one row is there. So 90%. What percent of the grid is not shaded? So this section. Well, 90 take away 100 would be 10%. And I could subtract that if I wanted to just show my work right there. Number 6. Which would have the greater area, the circle or the box? So last time there was a little bit of discussion because some people thought maybe the square had more because the edges were straight, and I reminded them that it would actually take more fencing to go on a curve than it would to go straight. So on this one right here, it says which one would have a greater area. Well, if the square can fit inside of the circle has more area. It has more space. Something can fit in it. The circle cannot fit inside of the square. So the circle would have greater area. Okay. For problems 7 through 9, use the chart to the right. A plus B equals what? So blah, 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 sorry. When you're using this, when you're using the table like this, you're really looking to figure out, okay, is there any patterns that you can see? And if you can't see a pattern and you can't solve what you think might be the case, so this is the letter and this is the value. This one is saying if an A is equal to a 2, you would put that above there, and a B would be equal to a 4. So we would be 2 plus 4, which would be 6. So then B, which would be a 4, and D, which would be a 5. And this means to do a times. So 4 times 5, or I can count by 5, 4 times 5, 10, 15, 20. 20. E over B, 8 over 4. 8 over 4 is the same as, how many times does 4 go into 8? Numerator, parts in the whole, and how many parts you have all together. So if it only takes 4 parts to make a whole and we have 8, we actually have a total of 2 parts. You can divide it both by 4. This 4 goes into 8. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 2 over 1 equals 2. Alright. Now, here again, for adding we need common denominators. For multiplication we don't, but for adding we do. So here we're just bringing this one over. For adding, you just, as long as the denominator is common, you can bring it over. So here we would add the numerator. 1 plus 2 is 3. And I'm always going to try to get you guys to put numerators and denominators. Numerator and denominator. Because this reminds us when we set up some of our stuff later that this is how, which one, when they say numerator, that's the one on the top. Okay? And when you multiply straight across, and you multiply both the top numerators and the bottom denominators. So 5 times 5 is 25, and 1 times 2 is 2. So 2 25ths would be your answer.